folks, so today's video is going to be a haul of about 19 books that I picked up from a massive library sale that I paid a whopping $7 for. Basically, this library sale, what you do is you go in, you pay $5, they take you back into a library room that has those like, what is it called, like mechanical shelves that like you can move, and anyway, and they only let like 2 people in at a time. You have 20 minutes, you go in, you grab stuff, and then all of the soft covers are $5 for $1 and all of the hardbacks are $3 for $1. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys about the things that I got. Forgive my hair, it's drying because it's about 1,500 degrees in this room right now. So I got a lot of books to go through. I know very little things about a few of them. Kind of madness in the sale, so you're mostly just going, okay, that looks familiar, grabbing it, because for that price it's completely worth it. So then what I do when I get home is I take the plastic off of the library books and then I meticulously take all the stickers off. It's a labor of love, but anyway. Alright, so first things, I got 2 Chuck Palahniuk books. Turns out I already own this one. Wasn't sure if I did, but this is Invisible Monsters. So basically it's about like a fashion celebrity and she gets in a car accident and gets like horribly disfigured, and then she meets another person who helps her sort of deal with that. It's been many years since I've read that, but that's like the gist of it. But I always loved the cover, which I thought was like really cool from him, and this one is called Survivor, and this is a book that talks about a guy who is flying a plane and he's in a cult, and he sort of just like describes his life in the black box of the plane because he's going to crash the plane. Whether that's a suicide attempt or not, I'm not too sure, but picked this up. I always like Chuck Palahniuk's writing. They're a little dark and weird. Is it Revenge, Ice Cream, and Other Things Best Served Cold by Katie Finn. She has like I think 3 books in this sort of like series. I'm hoping that they're standalones though. I think they are. Turns out I accidentally have another copy of this as well. I remember being in the library thing and I went, do I have this? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think this is the second one in a series, but I might just read this anyway. But basically it's about a girl vowing to get revenge for her friend that knew some stuff about her. She works in an ice cream shop. It's very like summery, cutesy kind of book, so if you know anything about that book, let me know because I don't know much. But I liked it enough to somehow wind up with 2 copies of it, so. Up next I picked Since You've Been Gone. This is a nice short little read, and for some reason I picked this up. Possibly because it was like a Kelly Clarkson song, I don't know. I don't know why I got this. Again, when you're in this like madness of this library sale, you just kind of grab stuff. So this is talked about a girl who's like switching schools in a new country. I think her mom is a little fucked up and I think her dad was abusive. I don't know. Sounds like teenage drama, so I'm into it. Up next, I picked up a book that looked like there was a bunch of copies there because probably the author didn't sell them all and I guess donated them all. But then I checked on Goodreads and it has like 4.5 stars. So this is Westlake Soul by Rio Ewers. What little I know about this is basically he's a 23-year-old surfing champion and he thinks he's in like this world, but he's actually in a vegetative state and the only person that he can communicate with is the family dog. And I guess it's sort of like a dream state. I don't know if this is like any sort of fantasy or anything kind of kicking around in it, but it sounded interesting enough for me to pick it up, and it was tiny, so I grabbed that. Jeff got a copy of Barney Stinson's The Bro Code, and he insisted that I talk about this. So, Article 69, duh. It was $5 for $1, so I paid all of 20 cents for this. Next I'm going to move into the hardcovers that I picked up. I either heard something about them on BookTube, had seen them before, knew an author name, or just because of the cover. So, a lot of these I know nothing about. This book, which is one that I had seen before, read the insert and put it down, but I have green hair, so I went, what are these like hair swatches on the cover? This book is called The Blonde. There is like an apocalyptic plague where all of the blondes in the world are going on like murderous rampages. That's all I really know. I know there's some other things in this as well, but the main character is also pregnant and she's heading to Canada. So, I don't know, it seemed interesting enough and I loved it because of the cover and stuff, so. Up next I picked up The Dinner by Herman Koch. sure. People either love it or they hate it. They said it's a pretty weird book, and what it does is it takes place at like one dinner, and it's between two families whose sons are both connected in some sort of like accident, and I guess they're trying to like place blame on one of the two sons. But the whole book takes place over one dinner, and so I'm very interested to see how this is. I like to find out sort of what is in a book that makes it that drastic contrast in reviews. So I've heard people say it's pretty weird, so I want to give it a shot, so I grabbed that. Up next is a book that I wouldn't otherwise have grabbed if it wasn't $3 for $1. This one was one that I have actually been suggested on Book Outlet a couple times. They always are like, have you seen this book? And I've always fallen in love with the cover. Like, it's a really beautiful, like, stunning cover, and I like sort of flat lays like that. And this is about a 10-year-old girl who has a very, very like strong relationship with God and her faith, and her whole family is very religious. I don't typically read about religion very much, but she has a very strong tie to her faith and a tie to God, and she makes a little sort of diorama of things that she's found in like around her house. And she doesn't want to go, I think it's like she doesn't want to go to school, so she like creates a snowstorm in her diorama and then wakes up and there's a snowstorm outside. And so I don't know, it seems like it might be like super religious and push that religious tone, which I might not enjoy, but then it also seems kind of cute and kind of like, I don't want to say magical, but like whimsical, I guess. So I don't know, it's just one that like I keep seeing and I've keep been like, oh, I don't really want to read that. But then, you know, it's 33 cents, and I'm hoping to give it a try, even though it's not necessarily in something that I like to read. I'm jump-starting my brain and reading something that I wouldn't otherwise read, so I don't know. I might really enjoy this. This is definitely one that's more interesting because it's a book that I almost don't want to read. Picked up Vanishing Girls by Lauren Oliver. This is sort of a thriller where there's two sisters and one of them goes missing and the other one is sort of trying to find her, and another girl in the neighborhood goes missing along with her sister. I don't know very much more about it than that, but I wanted to pick up some more sort of like thriller mystery books for the fall, so I grabbed that. Let me know if you've read it, if you know anything about it, because I know nothing about it. Up The Rest of Us by Jessica Lott. And again, this is a book I picked up purely because of the cover. This talks about a woman who in her younger years was in love with her older professor, and I guess they had a relationship, and then this is sort of 15 years later where they sort of talk about that relationship or rekindle it. Not too sure. Don't know much about it. But I thought that the cover was beautiful and that's why I grabbed it. So, don't know anything about that. Alright, up next is a book again I picked up just because of the cover, but then got it and read the insert and thought it was interesting. So this is about a girl who's in a school for psychics, and she's being mentored by a teacher who I guess has like powerful psychic powers. And the teacher gets jealous of her and then tries to humiliate her and use like sort of psychic warfare against her. And then so she sort of vanishes and like uses psychic powers to find out what's going on. I don't know. But basically it's about psychics and people who vanish and missing people, and I feel like it sort of fits into something that I would like to read, and then also fits into sort of stuff that I like to read in the fall and winter. And it's really pretty, so I like that. Up next, I picked up Friends Like Us, a novel by Lauren Fox, and this talks about two friends. People refer to them sort of almost as sisters. They live together, they're roommates and whatnot, and then one of the girls' old guy friends falls in love with her friend, and it sort of talks about like, kind of like a Three's Company thing, like, you know, is she willing to let like two of her friends fall in love and whatnot. I don't know, it seems cute, it seems sort of modern and like roommate friend drama. I like that. I also really like that it uses ultra thin Helvetica on the cover. It's on the spine as well, and I went, ooh, there's a book with Helvetica font. Must buy. Picked up a Sarah Dessen book, which is summery and light, and I haven't read any of her stuff, but I keep seeing it at like secondhand places everywhere. So I just wanted to see, okay, are they bad and that's why people are getting rid of them? Or are they decent and there are just so many of them in the world? This one is called The Moon and More, and this is about a girl about to go off to college, and she's in sort of like a beach town. Good summer read. Talks about a love and a romance and something, I don't know. But I figured it was light and fluffy, I could probably speed through it this summer. This book, which is The Lace Reader, and I bought this like solely because it's the most beautiful cover. It's all like, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like embossed, I guess. and it's really super pretty. Turns out this sounds fucking awesome. So this is set in Salem, Massachusetts, and the women in the town can read futures by looking at lace. Never heard that before. Is that a thing that exists? Because I want to Google it and find out if that's like a real thing that you can, like, you know, read tea leaves or like read lace. I don't know. Never heard about it before, so if it's actually a thing that people do, I'm curious. She's 15 years old and she reads something in lace and like a bunch of drama happens, and then she decides like, I'm about to peace out of this fucking town, so she leaves and she comes back 15 years later to find out like what happened to her aunt that disappeared. I have a lot of books about disappearances, you might notice. I think those are really interesting. So, I don't know. But this sounds really interesting. I like the fact that it's set in Salem. I like that, like, sort of like witchy culture. So, I'm very excited to read this. I think it sounds really good and different and interesting. So, I picked that up. Oh, also, this book is by the coolest name I've ever heard. Brunonia? How do you pronounce that? Brunonia Berry? Is that not the most interesting name you've ever heard? Sounds like a mystical witch that wrote this book for me. The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. This is like a big Mac Daddy version, like it's fucking huge. But I had never actually read this. I've watched the movie and found it incredibly interesting. And I'm going to Italy for my honeymoon, so I kind of want to like read about Da Vinci before I like go to Italy. And this was a $38 book, Canadian. Like, okay, I think I will grab you for 33 cents. The Return, a novel by Michael Gruber, and this I just picked up because the back, it was recommended by Stephen King, so I mean it can't be bad. But from what I can tell about this is that the guy's wife gets killed by like a Mexican drug lord, and he's trying to like seek revenge on that crime and violence and whatnot. Find Her by Lisa Gardner, and my mom reads her, so I picked it up. This is about a woman named Flora Dane who was kidnapped and then held, I guess, for like a year or some. She also survived, but then 5 years later she's like working with the FBI, and she's sort of obsessed with the other girls that are kidnapped, and then she goes missing again while she's sort of like figuring out what happened to these other girls. Seems interesting, seems dark and thrilling and mysterious. So again, just picking up stuff and hoarding them until fall. So this is The Diviners by Libra Bray, and I had heard things about this and I forgot what I heard about it, but then I grabbed the book and I'm happy that I grabbed it. It's huge, first of all, but this is set in the 1920s. So this is one of those books that I don't want to know too much about it before I start reading it, just because it is like a beast of a book, so I like to sort of like get into the story. All I know about this is that it's set in the 1920s and there's like occult things happening, and there's like different worlds and like cryptic symbols and the 1920s, so it sounds really interesting. And also the main character's name is Evie, which is the name of my cat. So but yeah, so I've heard good things about this, so I picked that up. 19 books. I didn't grab the other ones, this is some of them, but that's the 19 books that I grabbed from my big massive library sale. Obviously I'm good on books for a while. I actually just picked up a haul from a thrift store as well as Book Outlet this month, and I am done buying books. You say that, but I'm done buying books until probably September. And then my wedding and my honeymoon is like the next month of October basically. So I likely will be buying a little bit of books in September and then possibly a little bit more books in November. But now I have just a stack of giant things to read, and I'm excited. So I love looking under the cover and figuring out like the recommended sale price. So I did the Canadian prices, and so all of these books would have been $471 originally, and I paid $7. So, and if that's not thrifty, I don't know what is. I highly suggest you find out if your town or city does library sales like that, because they are awesome and you can pick up some really good stuff. Also let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you're excited for. I wasn't able to really give too much detail because, like I said, I got all these in 20 minutes, so like you can't really pick and choose like what stuff is. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I will have up a haul of the books that I got from Book Outlet as well, so stay tuned for that, and hope everyone's doing good. Bye!